Hello, Trail Seeker, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Learn True Health podcast. Well, strap yourself in. We have an amazing health coach here today who works with a doctor in a very busy clinic, specifically helping men with kidney health and bladder health, and oftentimes helping them with an anti-cancer diet or a diet that reverses diabetes. So she has lots of great medical experience as a health coach, working hand in hand with the doctors in the clinic and the patients to help them create the diet and lifestyle that will get them the results they're looking for. So today we're going to dive into what kind of diet helps the body heal, specifically when someone is so far gone that they need medical intervention and then they're looking to recover afterwards. We dive into her own story of health challenges that she's been up against and what she did to reverse those issues and gain true health. Now, because she deals a lot with cancer patients, she also looks to help them to detoxify the heavy metals and environmental pollution that often is the root cause, unfortunately, in this day and age, to the creation of cancer. One thing she does mention is sauna, are one of the modalities or the therapies that is used or recommended for those who have cancer and are looking to detoxify. Now, you don't have to wait to get cancer, obviously. If you feel that you have lived in a city or lived near farms or been exposed to, through your career or just through the environment that you've lived in, any kind of pollution, heavy metals, you'll want to use a sauna. And I really recommend the Sunlighten. I spent the last few years studying different types of sauna therapies and trying to decide which one was right for me, because it is a major purchase, especially if you get the wooden, the kind of the wooden box that looks like a TARDIS that you'd put in the corner of one of your rooms. And maybe it fits, two or three adults at a time. And it is an investment. You're buying a medical device for your long-term health and the health of your family. So in going through and looking at all the different companies, I came across Sunlighten. Now, Sunlighten is the only company in the United States that is fully patented as providing all the full spectrum, so mid-infrared, near-infrared, and far-infrared. Also, what I noticed is that it's very comfortable to be in a Sunlighten sauna. You're not feeling stuffy and hot, and it doesn't feel uncomfortable. Even at as low as 90 degrees, which just feels like a nice warm day, you can begin to perspire and expel the heavy metals through your skin, through your sweat, and then easily wash them off. And you do that a few times a week. It has been proven to regulate blood pressure, to actually create weight loss, and it is highly anti-inflammatory. In fact, since starting using my Sunlighten, I've lost over 15 pounds. I didn't change my diet. I'm already eating really healthy. I'm already doing a lot of healthy things, but my body just dropped excess water, inflammation, and excess weight. Because to the body, it's sort of like a cardiovascular experience being in a Sunlighten sauna. By the time you're done, between 20 and 40 minutes, you can burn up to 500 calories just sitting there and enjoying yourself. You can listen to music, you can watch movies, you can read your book. It's actually an enjoyable experience. So if you've been thinking about getting a sauna, or if this has sort of been on your radar and you want more information, definitely just look up Sunlighten, give them a call. Make sure you mention the Learn True Health podcast, because I told them, listen, I'm going to be talking about my experience in your sauna, and I want to make sure that all my listeners get a good deal. And so they will give you free shipping, which, especially for the big models, can be $500 off. They'll also give you $100 credit towards any accessories. And I happen to really like, if you're going to get the wooden sauna, I really like the pad with the pad for the seat with a bamboo cover That was really comfortable. Now there's a different kind of sauna they have. If you go, listen, I just don't have enough room. I really want the benefits of a sauna, but there's just no way that I'm going to set up this wooden object. And the thing is, it doesn't take up that much room, but if you have a condo or an apartment, you might not really want to that might just take up too much room. And in that case, what you'll love to know is that Sunlighten created the Solo system. It is a portable system. In fact, Dr. Mark Hyman, one of the previous guests on the show, that's the system that he has because he has a condo. Otherwise, I'm sure he'd get the big wooden one, which is also very nice. But their Solo is portable, and you can set it up, lay on it. You actually lay down, so you can lay on your bed or on the floor or on a massage table. And it's a dome that goes over your body that traps the heat, so you are warmed by the pad you're laying on and also by the top of the dome, so you're being warmed on both sides. It's very comfortable. It's set on a timer with different programs. You can fall asleep to it. It's just it's very nice. And then when you're done, you just get up, you wipe it off, and you put it away in the closet. It's great also for practitioners. So if you're a massage therapist, acupuncturist, if you have a clinic, you can use it with your clients. I had the creator, the co-founder of Sunlighten on the show a few months ago, and her name's Connie Zach. So you can go back and listen to that episode, and she talks about how Sunlighten also owns a spa because they wanted to have that close connection with their clients and constantly evolve their products. Of course, they also work with scientists and doctors to make the absolute best in terms of the lowest EMF and the absolute best spectrum for all the infrared spectrum, the full infrared spectrum. But they also want to make sure that they're communicating directly with the clients. And so they have a spa, and in that spa, they do notice that people love getting a massage and then using the Solo system, which you lay on after the massage. And so I thought that was really cool. So those who are listening who are massage therapists, that might be something you'd want to add because you could, obviously charge per session, and that doesn't take more of your hands or your body strength, but it provides a great service for your clients. So it's a great thing for you personally, but also if you're a practitioner, it's fantastic for your clients. So check out Sunlighten. I really, really believe in them. They're absolutely fantastic to talk to. But if you want more information, you're just not ready to buy, but you want more information, you can go ahead and email me, and I can send you the contact information of the manager there that has said to me she would love to answer anyone's questions, especially like practitioners and doctors. If you need to see all of the literature, all the scientific data, all of the studies that back everything that has gone into making Sunlighten the best sauna system out there, then please go ahead and email me, ashley@learntruehealth.com, and I can set up an introduction so that you can communicate with the manager there and she can give you all the information you need. Another thing I wanted to point out is as you're listening to this interview, if you think to yourself, I would love this woman's job. I would love to be a health coach. I'd love to work in a medical clinic and help patients after they've seen the doctor, help them to hold their hand and help them through the their diet and their lifestyle and help them make those positive shifts. I would love to be a health coach. If that's something that interests you, either working on your own as an entrepreneur health coach or working in clinics or with doctors as a health coach, with naturopaths or chiropractors or MDs, working in schools, there's so many different avenues for a health coach these days. And if you're interested in becoming one, definitely check out the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. If you've listened to this show for a while now, you've heard my story that I went through their program. It's a year-long online training program, and now they've just launched their accelerated program. Their online training program, their traditional one, which is a year-long, totally prepares you to become graduate already as a successful health coach, because you start taking clients while you're still in the program. And that requires about 20 minutes a day. So if you have 20 minutes in the evening or the morning or during your commute that you could dedicate for a whole year, then you definitely easily could do it. If you want to be a health coach in 6 months, then do the accelerated program. And with that, it's sort of like going through grad school online. It will take probably an hour to 90 minutes a day for 6 months, but then you're a health coach, and that is absolutely phenomenal. And they set you up for success. They set you up so that you hit the ground running and have an incredibly successful business as a health coach, helping people to gain their health back and shift their lifestyle and diet for long-term success. Now, I talked to IIN and I said, listen, I'm going to be telling all my listeners about you guys, so please give my listeners the best discount. So when you mention the Learn to Health podcast or my name, Ashley James, they've told me that they will give you the absolute best price. And so go ahead, give them a call. You can even get a module for free if you want to check it out and just put your toe in the water, see if it's something that's, see if it's right for you. Go to learntohealth.com/coach and you can do a module for free of their program, and then you'll get a feel for it. And that's great. I would love to know that my podcast has helped more listeners to find their true calling, especially if their true calling is helping people through health coaching or helping people through holistic healing modalities to gain their true health. Wonderful. Well, enjoy today's interview. Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 267. Well, it is always a great interview when we have a health coach on the show, and today we have with us Sarah Kostusiak. What a fantastic name.
Great job. You did it.
Woohoo! Wonderful. Well, Sarah, you have a really great story. I'm very excited to have you here today. Your blog is Life, Love, and Time like the herb.com. And you also work at the North Austin Wellness Clinic, which is northaustinwellness.com. I really like your blog. Lots of fun information there. Sarah, I would love for you to share with the listeners, before we get into all the wonderful actionable steps you're going to teach us today about how to gain better health, I'd love for you to share your story, because my understanding is that you're very passionate about empowering others, so empowering our listeners to take control of their health and to know that no matter where they are right now, that they absolutely can achieve better health, because you definitely have been through the ringer and you've come out the other side, and now you love empowering and helping people to do the same. Isn't that correct?
Yes, that's 100% correct. And there are many ways to get to health, but I think knowing your body and finding that way for you is the biggest message that I can give to people.
And how did you do that for yourself?
For myself, let's see, going back, even if I think back as small as 5 years old, I can remember having some blood sugar issues, and that I would cry and they'd be like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'd say, "I'm hungry." Didn't know what was going on. Blood sugar seemed to be an issue for me throughout my whole entire life. And then I just never really dealt with stress well either. My stomach was always upset, and I just really, all of these things didn't make much sense. And then I got extremely sick in college and went to the doctor, had all the tests done. They had no idea what was wrong with me. So, and this was, let's date myself, 1994. So they just said, well, let's just call it IBS because we can't figure it out. You need to see a psychologist. And I was like, I'm young, I'm 19, but I don't think seeing a psychologist is really going to help me when I have diarrhea within 30 minutes of eating. So I started writing down my food journal and just, or started a food journal and writing down everything that I ate and trying to figure out what was causing the issue. At 19, though, I didn't quite figure it out. I knew pizza and hamburgers caused an issue for me, but I thought it was red meat. And then I kind of went vegetarian for about 10 years. And I think for my body, not saying it's wrong for everyone, but for my body, that increased my blood sugar issues. And it didn't help because looking back, the real issue was probably a gluten sensitivity, because gluten was really kind of the key and all of those things too. So the stomach issues continued. Within 10 years, I was diagnosed with acid reflux and GERD, and which I feel now were probably misdiagnosed gallbladder issues. And every time I went to the doctor, they really just were like, yeah, no, that's not a big deal. Take this pill and, you're fine. You'll be fine. And the pills didn't work, and nothing they said really even worked for me. So I really became disenfranchised with mainstream medicine because I wasn't getting any relief. So I just continued to go, just stay away and kind of figure out foods on my own. And then um, I, I got, no, let's see, in 2010, I ended up having some secondary infertility. And that after having two children, I ended up losing a pregnancy at 16 weeks because my body was just extremely tired from everything that it had gone through. And I discovered in that I actually have I am heterozygous for MTHFR C677T. So I started digging into that and looking into genetics, which not many people knew much about back then. And then I went to a nutritionist, and she was the one that finally said, hello, it's gluten. You really need to start kicking out gluten. And I live in Texas, and tortillas are really hard to give up. So it took me a little bit of time to kind of see my way through there. And I did start to finally have some relief, and I started to kind of build my health back up. It wasn't though 100% for me. I got really into fermentation, and I was doing paleo with a focus on whole foods or focus on fermented foods. And I still just wasn't 100%. And then I ended up getting extremely sick about 2 years ago. We were out of town, and I had so much pain that I couldn't even sit up. And I went to the doctor, just called and got into, one of the gastros at the regular doctor's clinic here. And he was like, oh, it's just acid reflux. And I ended up walking out of the office and going straight into the bathroom and just crying because I just felt so disempowered and not listened to. And like, this is my body. I get to decide, like, I get to choose. And so I went from there, and I thought, okay, I know a lot about health, and I'm really, trying to take care of my health, and I'm not figuring this out, and I'm being blown off. And so from this moment on, I'm going to figure this out, whatever it is, and I'm going to share it with other people. And so it took a while. It took some MRIs. It took some different doctors to really find that I had gallbladder issues. And of course, they wanted to take it out right away. And I was like, no, 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 I'm not healthy enough for surgery even. And so I started digging into genetics, and I started digging into controlling blood sugar levels and really getting my health to a stable point. I did eventually end up having the gallbladder taken out, but I feel that that was causing a level of inflammation in my body that I wasn't able to control through food anymore because it had been 40 some odd years just of inflammation from the gluten and all of the other things in my body. So this journey has been a long journey, and it has not been easy on my body, but I think that the drive that it gives me and the connection that I get to my clients, I've been there. I've been that person, and I have a drive to really find the root cause of what's going on for them. And I think that gives me an edge with some of my clients.
Do you feel that you were able to ultimately get to the root cause of your gallbladder issue? Because just taking out the gallbladder doesn't solve what was
No, not at
causing
all.
it, right? S
I Yeah, yes, I feel that gallbladder issues tend to be because I not only had inflammation, but I also had gallstones. And then, 16 years prior to that, I had been told that I had too much acid, so I needed to be on acid blockers,
Mm.
right? Which really isn't the problem. For many people, when they are having acid reflux, it's usually not enough. So I I did take the acid blockers for a few years and then stopped taking it. But I think food sensitivities and a lack of good bile and digestive enzymes probably cause the inflammation in the gallbladder.
I've
And
heard
so, I,
I've heard of people being able to reverse gallbladder issues by there's certain herbs and digestive enzymes that one could take that would actually help the body to dissolve the gallstones. But that it's a slower process, and if someone's in an emergency situation, unfortunately, when it's gotten to the point where it's sort of like it's dire. They have to take the gallbladder out. But if someone could, if they have enough time, to work on it, I've heard of many people being able to save the gallbladder by specific herbs or like you said, the bile, taking the bile salts, or taking a digestive enzyme with bile in it, and also eating healthy fats so that the body can make more the liver can make more healthy bile, because it's this catch 22. You need healthy bile to dissolve the gallstones, but you're
yes,
not going to get the healthy bile, or sorry, you're not going to get that. You need healthy fats in the to make the body uses fat to make bile, and a nice healthy amount of bile digests gallstones. But the problem with need if your body needs enough healthy fat and it doesn't produce enough bile, now you're caught in this catch 22 where you can't digest your fat, and you're probably not eating healthy fats. You can't digest them and absorb, and are you even absorbing the healthy fats? And so you're really stuck in this conundrum.
yes, yes. And I feel that initial time where I was having not only like chest pain, kind of mid chest pain, but I was having back pain.
Hmm.
That's really a sign of gallbladder that the doctor missed. And so, had I been gotten the help back then, I wouldn't have gone the 16 years and developed four nickel-sized gallstones and all the inflammation. And I couldn't even sleep on my right side
Oh.
for many of those years. So definitely, getting the help initially is very helpful. And so, and I talk with all my clients, like, are you having any acid reflux? Like, let's get some digestive enzymes right now, and really try to get them help early on so that they don't end up in the situation that I'm in. I mean, I did have the gallbladder out. I do feel that it was the right choice for me. I do not recommend it because there are side effects definitely that I live with every day. Um, so
Hmm.
it's hard, but I can at least sleep on my right side now.
I just published an episode with a gastroenterologist. His name's Dr. Satish Rao, and he says that the overuse of proton pump inhibitors and antacids leads to, he says it's 100% of the people. I mean, he sees thousands of patients, in his lifetime. He's seen thousands of patients, but he says it's 100%. If you are on proton pump inhibitors for like 8 weeks or more, then you have SIBO or SIFO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth or small intestinal fungal overgrowth or candida overgrowth. It's just the body needs to have healthy levels of stomach acid. And I just want to go back and illustrate what you just said. You said it's usually not enough. But what you were referring to was that heartburn most of the time is not caused by too much stomach acid. It's caused by too little stomach acid, which is what you just said.
Yes.
And for those who have never heard this, it's kind of, that was my biggest wake up call. I was in my early 20s, and I was on Zantac or whatever it's called, these little over the counter,
Yeah.
oh man, I popped them like you wouldn't believe. And I thought I was eating healthy because I was eating whole wheat bread, Subway
Yep.
sandwiches on whole wheat bread, that kind of thing. And and really I was following to a T what the, Canadian, I'm from Canada, so it's like the standard Canadian diet, which is exactly the same as the standard American diet because we subsidize the same crops. So it's all like lots and lots of whole wheat, and other grains, lots of meat, right? And some vegetables and maybe some fruit up there. Um, and I had wicked heartburn, and I'd never had heartburn in my life when I was eating what our naturopath sort of had me grow up on, which was the something similar to what is now considered paleo. And so he was very progressive. This is back in the 80s. We were eating like a candida diet where everything was fresh, lots of fruits and vegetables, minimal grains, lots of legumes, and some lean meats. And that was what I grew up on. No processed food, no sugar,
Wow.
no milk. I know it was I my mom was like super progressive. Like I ate I wasn't allowed chocolate. I had the carob instead of chocolate.
Oh,
I grew
wow.
up eating rice dream instead of ice cream, on the occasion that we were allowed sugar, which we never had sugar in the house. So yeah, very, very weird childhood. Now I totally appreciate what my mom was doing for us. But the second I moved out of the house, I was eating pizza and Subway sandwiches and started to get heartburn. And then I happened to flip through the channels and I saw this naturopath on explaining if you just go, if you have heartburn, go and drink a few ounces of apple cider vinegar, and if it gives you some relief, then you need more acid, not less. And she explained that the esophageal sphincter, so the sphincter right above the stomach that attaches
Hmm.
to basically the hose that goes from your mouth to your stomach is called the esophagus, and there's a little sphincter. A sphincter is like something that
Open and close.
open
Yeah.
and closes, right? And so there's three layers of muscle in the stomach, and what happens is once you eat something, the stomach turns on like a washing machine and it starts churning. Those three layers of muscle start churning, so mechanically moving the food around with the acid to help break it up as fast as possible. Um, and if you don't have enough acid, then it doesn't tell the sphincter to close. That you need acid to tell the sphincter to close. And so if you still have some acid, but not much, it's not strong enough. And so the sphincter doesn't close completely, and the stomach starts churning. It's kind of like turning your washing machine on, but leaving the door open. So somehow the washing machine is like as not listening to the signals, right? So
Yep.
the door is open on your washing machine and it's able to turn on and start churning crazily with this clothes and the soap and the water just flying out. And that's what's happening all the way up our esophagus, almost right to our mouth, all the way up in our throat is these digestive juices. And then we go to the doctor with this pain and they go, here's an antacid, and people are on these antacids for years, and
Yes.
it's so destructive to the body because now this wonderful stomach acid, which kills all the germs and the fungus and digests our food
Digest
so
it.
we can
Yeah.
assimilate, so we can absorb and assimilate. Now all of that's gone, so now we're not digesting, we're not absorbing 100%. We're not digesting the foods that um need acid to digest. So we are able to digest our carbs, and absorb some carbs, which think about it, you're just getting lots of sugar, but you're not getting the healthy proteins. And if you have gallbladder issues, now you're not getting the healthy fats. So it really sets you up so your body's only getting some of your nutrients. And then on top of that, now you've got an infestation of an overgrowth of bacteria or fungus in the small intestines where it's definitely not supposed to be. And that wreaks all that havoc that you were discussing, the IBS, the blood sugar issues, the gallbladder issues, the inflammation issues, all of that. And way back when you first were having the heartburn, if your doctor was actually trained in, instead of being a drug pusher, was trained in how to help your body heal, then your doctor would have helped you to grow a healthier, stronger constitution, a stronger digestive system, instead of weakening it with drugs. And it
Yep.
sets you up with a lifetime of suffering. And I love that you came here today to share your story, because so many listeners, 20 years ago were put on, these kind of antacids, and they too have had so many issues cascade. Now you go to an MD, and the MD is going to treat, oh, you have this issue, I'm going to give you a drug for this, and then the one over here, and one over here, and one over here, and they're going to look at different parts of your body and give you different drugs for it, but they don't trace back and realize that they're all the same, the arms of the same octopus.
Yep. Yep.
And
And the SIBO, the IBS, was actually my first symptom. And now they're saying
mm,
that 80% of IBS is actually SIBO.
yes.
So they could have stopped all of it back then.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
it's so frustrating to hear what you went through and how the MDs are so blind that they just have their blinders on, and we really hold them in high esteem like gods, and they do
Yes,
too. And it's not their fault. I really genuinely think most MDs want to help people and really got into
I agree.
medicine because they want to help people. The problem is the system is completely corrupt, and the
I
the,
agree.
the medical system is designed to sell drugs and not
Yes.
to look to the root cause and heal. So unfortunately, what we have to do is get second and third and fourth opinions. And we have to go to other medical professionals other than medical doctors. We need to go to health coaches and naturopaths and chiropractors and acupuncturists, and find the different answers in the full spectrum of the healing gamut. So what have you done? What are the steps have you taken? But I mean, so you went gluten free. What other steps have you taken that have really helped you heal your gut and bring you back into balance in the last 2 years?
In between the IBS and the acid reflux, the I started having massive breakouts of acne on my face. And so I went to the doctor and they put me on like 6 months of
Oh
antibiotics.
my dear Lord.
Right. And so now looking back, I know that my body actually, when I eat gluten, I get a rash or zits. That's how my body processes gluten. And so I had stopped I'd been upping my wheat because I was stopping the meat. So that's when that kind of ramped up with my face, and then I ended up with candida issues from the gluten or from the antibiotics, and then I had the acid reflux. So what I've had to do is kind of look at the whole entire history of my life and kind of work backwards to see, like, okay, what was going on here. The gluten works. Taking out gluten definitely makes a difference for me now. If I do eat something, then it's a choice. I know that I'm going to pay with itchy rash, or my joints in my feet hurt, or I get
Mm.
a big zit. So I know, and it's a choice. And I think there's a difference for people that don't know how their body's reacting to food. And if I go out and have a piece of pizza, which I rarely do because I don't want to go suffer those consequences, but I know what's going to happen to me. um so it's the candida, I feel, also works with yeast, also causes when you eat yeast. So not just gluten free, because there are many gluten free products that really aren't healthy. And so I was even switched to gluten free bread, and I would still hiccup. And I thought, that's really weird. Not horribly annoying, right? But it is a little bit that you still hiccup. Or I would get a zit, or things like that would still happen. And so once I really dug into my genetics, and looking at my history of having this yeast issue with candida, and how gluten and the body kind of sees gluten and candida almost the same. um, that really kind of made me say, okay, I need to get rid of the gluten for sure, because I was kind of bouncing back and forth, but definitely for sure getting rid of that, and getting rid of yeast so that I'm not causing the candida to flare, and then sugar so that I'm not causing the candida to flare, And then also all of those things have affected my blood sugar over the years. I would have, food in every in my car, in my purse, in my bedside table. Like there was food. I couldn't go anywhere. I self-medicated with sugar, with candy for years because I just thought I had low blood sugar issues when it was really a combination of all of these, the way my body processed carbs basically. But the genetics also really helped when I started digging into that and found some genetic mutations that I have where I don't produce the enzymes that degrade food histamine. So when I was doing paleo with a focus on fermented foods, and then I went to a fermentation class and I ate a fermented tomatillo, and it literally burned all the way into my stomach. My stomach burned for 2 days, and then I got inhaled pneumonia, and I was sick for 2 weeks. And I that makes you back off of fermented foods a little bit, because I knew where it came from, but the genetics explained why I got sick then, or why I get sick when we go on a winery tour and I just drink, I just taste wine at each place like everybody else, and then I'm on the floor, right? Or I get food poisoning after eating shrimp cocktail. Like the knowing my genetics really cleared a lot for me, to figure out this whole puzzle of what's going on with my health.
Just for the listeners who don't know, when you can't properly metabolize the histamine in the body, then and histamine is sort of it'll increase inflammation over time. Like it just like think about when someone has hay fever, allergies, they have high histamine levels. Um and you want to bring down the histamine, there's certain foods that can increase histamine in the body, and
Yes.
fermented foods are definitely on that list.
And I thought, right, I had been also self-medicating with, over the counter allergy medications for all of these years also because I just thought I had bad allergies. I didn't realize there was a food component to all of it for me. And so histamine, there are, vegetables and foods that have a high histamine, but not necessarily as high as meat and fermented foods. And meat, especially as it ages, leftover or if it's been sitting out for a while, that will tend to have a much higher level of histamine in it. And so that's going to cause me to have more itchy kind of reactions or just get sick, right, to get it out of my body. So that's I just there are supplements now that I know that I can take if I'm going to go on a winery tour or to a fermentation class. But the degrading of the histamine is important to watch the diet also.
What kind of genetic test did you have done?
So with the genetics, what I do is I use either Ancestry DNA or 23andMe. These days I prefer Ancestry DNA because 23andMe kind of changed their chip and I'm not seeing all of the nutritional information that I used to see. But on Ancestry DNA, you just spit in the tube, you order it off Amazon, you spit in the tube, you send it off, it comes back, and you can actually, you see the fun data that they give you, but you can download the raw data and then you upload it to a site called LiveWello, and LiveWello will convert the raw data for $20 basically. And then I can see the genes. I pull out 50 to 60 different genes that have a nutritional, that I can say have a nutritional impact. Like, can I, the histamine gene, do you have, the right kind of, do you use the right kind of B vitamins or do you need a different kind of B vitamins or vitamin D, certain things that nutritionally I can support with diet and lifestyle and supplementation to help people get kind of a base level of health in a very easy way that many people have already done ancestry. They just don't realize the gold mine of data that's in there.
So you did your DNA, you went
Hmm.
gluten free, you saw in your DNA things like the MTHFR, so you need to take methylated B vitamins. And now, does that mean that if you ate, like, let's say kale or lots of leafy green vegetables, that your body has a problem methylating that?
For me, yes, because there are a number of genes in that whole methylation conversion pathway, and I actually have two methylation disorders. So even if I didn't have the MTHFR, I have the top one, which is FOLR too, and so I don't even get folic acid from food. Doesn't even really go into my pathway to be converted. So I have a double mutation in the methylation part. So my B vitamins, if they test my blood, it's usually very high because I'm not processing it out. But there are multiple thoughts on this, but the one that I go with is that it's a water soluble vitamin, and hopefully I'll just pee it out without having it converted. So I take methylated vitamins, B vitamins, and support my body that way.
That's awesome. I recently interviewed an author that wrote the book Dirty Genes, and he talks about different things you can do naturally to, because all these genes have epigenetic expressions, and there's ways in which you can sort of clean the genes so that your body runs more efficiently. Things like, it might be avoiding the histamine foods for you, or taking, there's specific supplements that actually support the body in breaking down histamine.
Yes.
He also recommends sweating in a sauna if there's like if you have several gene mutations that actually will see a huge benefit through
Yes.
using sauna.
Detoxification.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Detoxifying through the skin. I know it's made a huge difference for me. I started using a sauna back at the end of February, and
That's right.
I cannot believe how amazing I feel. And my husband too. It's funny, my husband and I have a lot of similarities. We've had our methylation tested. We are exactly the same. We have the exact same problem, the MTHFR problems. We
Interesting.
we have almost identical food allergies, except
Oh, interesting.
yeah, like I mean, we're both allergic to the same everything, except I'm allergic to bananas and he's allergic to eggs. So it kind of rules out it rules out a lot of foods, but yeah, we're
Oh,
allergic to, we're both allergic to the gluten foods and the dairy foods. And so I think when you live with someone for a long period of time and you eat the same diet together, and you're exposed to the same chemicals over time and
yes.
environmental pollutants, it's possible that your genetic expression, the genes start getting gummed up, um, when we have the same vices, as it were.
Yes.
And so, but yeah, we're both noticing a big difference with doing the sauna. What have you done to help clean up your genes, or help, I know it's so misleading to say clean up your genes, but this particular doctor says, he uses the term, dirty genes, just saying that there's a way in which we can live and eat and breathe that supports cleaner genetic expression. So you removed the histamine foods, you made sure you're taking methylated vitamins, because that's good for your body, you because of the genetic testing that you got, and you remove the gluten food, so barley, wheat, rye, and oats. um what about have you noticed other grains like corn? Some people go grain free and notice that makes a big difference to them. And what other steps did you take in the last 2 years that you've really seen a big impact on your health?
Yes, I do notice I never really liked oatmeal, and then I tend to get sick from it. I think that's why. I get mouth sores from corn. So yes, I have gone grain free, and these days I tend to lean more towards a low carb or a ketogenic diet, keeping my carbs fairly low so that I can control my blood sugar levels. I am of the belief that blood sugar levels being high is causes leads to inflammation in the body. And so if
Mm-hmm.
I can control my insulin response, then I'm going to reduce my inflammation in my body. I'm going to not ride that roller coaster of being a sugar burner, but be converted to being a fat burner, where I always have my fuel on me, or I'm taking in dietary fats, and I am much more stable with as being a fat burner. So between supporting my body um, nutritionally through supplements the best that I can, and then also through my diet and lifestyle, then I am able to be much more stable. I used to have very low energy. I have 3 children. I live on 5.5 acres. I have a full-time job. I'm going to graduate school. Like, I don't have time to be down and out. So I once I really started supplementing my body with not only the methylated B vitamins, but also I found that for me, the folinic acid, the cofactors, really made a difference in my energy levels. And then getting the sugars out and controlling my blood sugar levels, getting the grains out and controlling my blood sugar levels, I have a lot more mental clarity and a lot more focus and energy to be able to do all the things that I want to do and help all the people that I want to help.
How long have you been in ketosis? Do you like cycle? So sometimes you're in ketosis, sometimes you're not, or are you always in ketosis? And if so, how long have you been in ketosis?
I'm not in ketosis right now. I kind of am working on a detox month right now, and so I'm going into doing more of just real whole foods. In keto, we tend to get stuck on like our bulletproof coffee and our bacon and some foods that maybe I feel that I need to take a break from for a little while, and then I will go back into keto. But it's been about a year probably that I've been kind of full on keto and going in and out, mostly in. At first, when I was first doing keto, I found that I was, being good during the week and then falling off during the weekends and keeping myself in kind of that carb flu stage, which isn't helpful for anybody, right? Tuesday, I'm exhausted and I can't lift my arms because I've burned through all my glycogen stores by then. So once I really kind of made an effort to stick to keto on the weekends too and not have a cheat meal, like other diets, it's not a diet. You have to make that mindset switch that this is a way of life. This is how I eat. This is how I choose to take care of my body. And once you make that mindset switch, then it's much easier to do.
My husband and I did keto for 2 years, almost 3 years, and yeah, it was like 2.5 years. We went from like being paleo to full on keto, and I mean, I used a low. I wouldn't say I used keto, but I used a low carb diet and supplements and eating more whole foods to reverse my type 2 diabetes. This has been in the last coming on 8 years now.
That's
And
awesome.
but yeah, and so thank you. And so I was really on board. I like for the last 7 years been very low carb. Go through periods where there's no grains in my life. Lots of time where there's no fruit, 100, like no fruit, no
Yes.
sugar, no grains. And then sometimes I'll bring back in like the brown rice and that kind of thing. But staying away from corn and staying away from as much as possible, and staying definitely, I've been really strict about being gluten free and dairy free. Um, but what happened was, so then we switched over to we followed a nature path, and she showed us how to do keto, and she kind of did our blood work, and we went to see her weekly for like 3 months and learned all about how to do keto right, because I think you can do keto wrong so many ways, and
Yes.
really hurt yourself. A lot of people can end up burning their muscle instead of fat. I mean, they
Yes.
can do a lot of harm to their body. And being in ketosis ends up, it's very mineral depleting, because it's such a high acid state that the body has to really use its buffer systems, so your mineral deposits in your bones gets used up a lot faster in a ketogenic state. So supplementing with really good like calcium, magnesium, and all of the trace minerals, and potassium,
Very important. Yes.
very important. You can't just like haphazard, like just whatever, eat a
No,
bunch of
you have
fat
to
and
study
no,
this
yeah,
and yeah.
exactly. And so we studied it. We thought we were doing it right. We really took in all the information, And then, like I said, we were on it for, 2.5 years. And then in January, I started interviewing all these doctors that were like plant based, not ketogenic, right? Just plant based, whole foods. Like there's broccoli, I'm gonna go eat it. There's a banana, I'm gonna go eat it.
Hmm.
Um, but really, they believed in natural low fat. So just your fat comes from nuts and avocado, but don't ever consume anything rendered. So no oil, no processed foods. Just eat a whole food. Just it's like you were in the garden, you could just like grab a broccoli out of the ground and just start munching on it. And that's pretty much their diet. And so I kept interviewing all these experts about it. And my husband kind of picked up on it and said, why don't we like he was craving it. He started going, why don't we try that? And that was right around the time we got our blood work in January, like the really extensive kind of blood work that you
Hmm.
you want to do once a year, really extensive, many pages. And it was eye opening that our kidneys had been damaged, our
Oh no.
heart had been damaged, our livers had been damaged, that it was the right time for us to stop doing keto, and that
Definitely.
we should have probably maybe every 3 to 6 months been doing blood work, while we were in the ketogenic state, and not just gone so long, like we'd gone about 2 years, and not having the really extensive blood work. But yeah, we saw that I mean, if we had just kept doing that diet, it might have led to dialysis. And
Wow.
I'm really glad that we stopped when we did. We were listening to it, and our bodies started saying, this is not for me anymore. And my husband's really intuitive. And so now we're eating the opposite. And I was kind of scared because I have been so low carb for so
Yes.
many years. I was really afraid that if we started eating, I'm not going in like eating gluten-free bagels, I'm not like eating,
Right.
right? I mean, we've introduced brown rice into and I was afraid we introduced, I'm starting eating, I'm now having grapefruits for breakfast. And if I had had grapefruits for breakfast, 7, 8 years ago when I was diabetic, I would have felt really awful. I would have
Yes.
just and so in my mind, I thought fruit is bad, carbs are bad, right? But when we have insulin resistance and when we're, really our body is just crazy, um even fruit can have us go through these wild swings.
Yes.
And now,
Mm, yep.
having come out the other side, since I'm, no longer have healed my diabetes, I've filled up my nutrient tanks, as it were. I spent so many years using the right supplements, and using a low carb but very plant centered diet. um Now I notice that I can eat as much fruit as I want, and I have even killed blood sugar. I got my after eating a bunch of fruit. An hour later, my blood sugar was 88. I was like,
Wow.
I actually started crying when I because I was
I've been there.
this
Yep.
was a week ago. I had great, lots of grapefruit and other things, fruit wise, for breakfast, and then I tested my blood sugar. Which I don't normally do anymore because, again, not diabetic, but I'm kind of curious about this whole, like, this is so polar opposite to ketogenic, right? And my insulin sensitivity is through the roof, which is wonderful, meaning my insulin resistance is way down. Um, and that's really where we want to get to.
Yes.
I think that the ketogenic diet is healing and has its place in specific situations and done correctly. And I am of the mindset now, having done it both with an expert, like with a naturopath working with me, and also done it on my own. I'm really of the opinion that people should only do the ketogenic diet with their health coach, or like a trained health coach, or with a naturopath or a doctor of some kind that's really monitoring it, because it's
Yes.
so easy to go to the point where you're damaging your kidneys if done not correctly, or you can lose many pounds of your own muscle mass if done incorrectly. Um, but I've seen people like my friend who has breast cancer. She used the ketogenic diet not only to drop 80 pounds, like off her body like that, but she also used it to starve the cancer. Now, I know that in your clinic, you see a lot of, because it's a urology clinic, you see a lot of men that have prostate cancer. When, how does the prostate cancer react to being on the ketogenic diet?
When people are diagnosed, the doctor at our clinic says most of the time their very first question is, "Well, what do I eat?" And he was like, "Well, I don't know." So he wanted to include this wellness aspect into our clinic, and that's where I came in. And so I help them lose weight, for their surgeries, and feel so that helps them deal better with their surgery, recover better from their surgeries, being at a better weight. And then also there is a principle called the Warburg effect, which talks about how cancer ferments sugars for fuel, and so this by removing the sugars and the carbohydrates, which convert to sugar in the body, especially the refined carbohydrates, then removing that makes someone a fat burner, and the body will actually produce ketones. So I can help the person not encourage any more growth of the cancer, but also feel better with by creating ketones in their body and having that cross their blood brain barrier and give them more energy and clarity. And again, I do monitor them. I have them come in at first until I feel that they've kind of gotten the point. I have them come in every 2 weeks. We get on the scale, we check their muscle mass and their body fat and their water weight, and discuss any problems they're having, and I look at their macros, nutrients, and we figure all of that out together. And then I monitor them, once a month after that, just to make sure that they're still kind of maintaining. I have one guy that really isn't happy with me. He still calls me, bad names kind of when he sees me, but he giggles now at least, and he feels better, and he knows that he's doing the right thing for his body, because he does feel better, and he does feel like he's taking an active role in fighting the cancer and keeping it from coming back.
So do you see that when they get on the ketogenic diet, that the cancer starts shrinking faster? Do you notice, did they notice a difference? Does the doctor notice a difference? Is there any noticeable difference in blood tests that the cancer is being starved to death essentially?
They don't go that far. Typically, what happens, most of the men that come see me have come to see me because they're about to have a radical prostatectomy. So they're just removing the prostate completely. So that hasn't, they come to me a month or two before their surgery to try and lose the weight. The doctor told them to lose 20 pounds before their surgery, but I'm not getting a chance to really follow them long term, before that, to see if that's having an effect on the actual cancer, unfortunately.
And so okay, so the patients you see are scheduled for surgery. They're not doing the watch and wait and we'll see what happens, cuz prostate cancer is um one of those kind of cancers that oftentimes people can have time. They have time to
It
do
can
it.
be slow growing,
Yeah, it
yes.
can be slow, and it's not, it's typically not a cancer that metastasizes. So it's one of the ones that people can watch and wait and do other things like diet, to see if that they can get it under control. I interviewed Dr. Alan Goldhammer, who is the co-founder of the True North Medical Center in California. He uses a different kind of, I guess, ketogenic way. He does medically supervised water only fasting. And through that, within 3 days of just drinking water, you go into a ketogenic state. But it's different. It's different from the diet.
I think there are
Um,
kinder ways to go into, I mean, I do use intermittent fasting. I do encourage intermittent fasting for these people because that can help the body kind of clean up itself. But I think taking someone that's a sugar burner and A, not giving them any food, but B, telling them you can't eat, I find that cruel. So I kind of step them down into fasting.
mhm. And can you explain what is the best, if in what you've observed, what is the best form of intermittent fasting? Is it like skipping dinner and then skipping breakfast the next day, or is it going 24 hours? What do you like, and how often would you put someone on an intermittent fasting?
Usually once I've seen that they kind of have figured out, right, there's a progress when you go into keto, and it's figuring out how to get your carbs low. And then the next step is really figuring out how to get your protein at the right amount. I find that people tend to eat too much protein, and so we need to really kind of dial in their protein levels. And sometimes that can be helpful with the intermittent fasting, can be helpful, where we talk about, hey, let's just skip breakfast and not eat the 14 eggs that you're eating for breakfast. But
Oh my God, that was so me. Now you're in
which for your
Texas.
husband would have been causing some
Oh.
inflammation,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
So
no kidding, absolutely. You're in Texas. My next question was gonna be, have you ever helped someone, like a vegan or vegetarian, do keto? But, I mean, you're in Texas, that do they even exist? Although you're in Austin, that's pretty progressive place.
yes, I do have a couple of keto vegetarian clients. I have about 4 or 5. Actually, in January, it was just kind of like, I keep getting these people and I really don't feel that I can help them because I haven't figured out vegetarian keto. And so again, I try to focus on making sure that they are getting protein, because protein's one of those things with keto, like, you need enough to protect your muscle mass, but too much is actually going to kick you out of ketosis
Mhm.
and can convert to sugars and do the opposite thing. And then if you have the genes that I have, which I have genetic mutations that make me sensitive to protein also. So I'm not only carb sensitive, but I'm protein
Oh.
sensitive. And so if I really watch my protein, then I can lose weight. But if not, then I'm gonna, even if I eat like 2 eggs and 2 pieces of bacon for breakfast, then I'm not gonna be able to lose weight. So I really try to use my experience with all of this stuff to really kind of help my clients. But I do have a couple of vegetarian clients, and we just try to focus on, most of the time I can get them to eat a couple of hard boiled eggs throughout the day, and then also including some sources of nutritional yeast, or a protein powder, or a few of them are Indian, and so there's some like cottage cheese, paneer, some Greek yogurt, right? Trying to find some ways. I tend to let them go a little bit higher on the carbs, which for me, from what I've learned, is that 45 or 50 grams of carbs or less is going to keep you in kind of the fat burning zone. And so I don't necessarily do keto, but I do low carb with my vegetarian clients.
Is that, like, net or gross?
I do net.
Got it. So
But then again, I'm watching them also and making sure that they're maintaining their muscle mass, and it's not just, are you sleeping, because one bad night of sleep is going to make you insulin resistant. And I dealt with the insulin resistance thing also. 4 years ago, I went into premature menopause, and I had metabolic syndrome, and my insulin was off the charts, but nobody ever believed me that I was having insulin, or that I was having blood sugar problems, because my blood sugar levels and my A1C were always normal. And I would be like, no, I'm having blood sugar problems. And they'd be like, you need to see a psychologist. And I was like, again?
oh my
Like,
gosh.
so, and now my insulin levels, I never even saw normal. And now they went from high to ideal by watching my food. And so I am in that, what you're doing, I am experimenting also with adding in a little more fruit, adding in a little more, rice. I'm kind of in that phase right now also, to see what can my body
Right.
handle now that I have completely reversed my insulin resistance. And so I talk to people about that too. Like, you can't choose one diet. One diet isn't going to last your whole entire life. You must listen to your body. That's important. And I have a couple of clients that'll be like, okay, we're doing intermittent fasting and I only eat between 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. And they'll text me and be like, my stomach is growling and I'm starving to death and it's 10:30 and I can't eat yet. And I'm like, please eat. The point is to listen to your body. And if you're ignoring those hunger hormones, then we're just going to get back into the same place you were before. was ignoring those hunger hormones. So, or shutting them off by shoving too much food in. So, listening to your body is the number one rule. If your body says, okay, my blood work shows that I have healed my inflammation, then let's move on and see if you can try to incorporate some of these other things.
I love that you brought that up because I think it's really important for us to be flexible in our thinking when it comes to
Hmm.
our diet and not just blindly eat what we sort of, either what we've been marketed to eat or
Yes.
what we grew up eating. We have to question it. You've worked with enough clients that have prostate cancer. Have you looked back and sort of seen similarities in their lifestyle or their diet that may have led to creating cancer?
Some of it is toxin exposure. I have a couple of farmers that use Roundup. Some of it, that have, we have fertility patients, infertility also that I deal with. And there's, a number of people that are exposed to different toxins, mechanics, things like that. So we talk a lot about saunas and detoxification methods there. Um, it's the standard American diet, though, is really, they haven't ever thought about eating anything. And when I say, hey, you've got to give up, we've got to get your sugars under control here. And they're just flabbergasted that anything is going on, because when I look at them and I see that their bellies are large, which is a sign of insulin resistance, right? When you're insulin resistant, the fat tends to be stored kind of in the middle, in the torso there, and then the fat cells not only hold fat, they hold hormones and toxins also. And so, especially for men, like those hormones can be released and convert the testosterone to estrogen, which is going to co- contribute to the prostate cancer. So it's really getting the hormone levels under control, getting the hormones out of the food. One of the conversations that I have with people is about, you need to know what the food you're eating ate. What you know My favorite one is, chickens aren't vegetarians. So if you're buying vegetarian fed eggs or chicken, like, I have chickens and I've watched them catch frogs and mice and snakes. Like, they're not vegetarians. So, really know where your food comes from and what it's been sprayed with, and what's, the quality of your food matters in this whole equation too. I like to talk about, health is not just diet, right? It's these plates that you have to kind of keep spinning all at once. And diet's just one of those plates that you have to keep spinning. You've got to sleep, you've got to move, you've got to get the right supplements for your body. Look at the genetics. And you've got to manage stress. And stress is a big component of it also.
What are ways that you educate your clients to manage stress?
That's a hard one because, um, well, we have Dell and Apple and, these big companies around here. And so trying to help people manage their stress is difficult. Usually I tend to talk about, first, let's get your diet under control and manage the stress, because for me and you, the food I was eating was causing some stress on my body. So I think there's internal, that stress too. There's staying present, eating mindfully, not sitting on the couch and shoving food in, knowing what your food eats, being mindful of what's going on. There are some meditation apps. Meditation isn't for everybody, but just getting out and going for a walk, getting a hobby, doing something with friends, really just trying to let work stay at work and kind of focus on staying in the present, I think, is the biggest deal for many of them.
So things that bring you back into the present. So going for walks. breathing, going and literally going and hugging a tree. I love hugging trees.
The breathing is a big deal for me because I find that I hold my breath. I'm like,
Mm.
"Oh, I'm holding my breath." So I've got to take, 10 deep breaths here and I've got to do some stretches and not, we sit all day long. So I need to make sure that I'm wearing my Fitbit and it's annoying me and telling me to get up and I take the long way to the bathroom and, joke with people and try to laugh and we don't laugh anymore.
Now, you have some advice for us around shopping so we don't have to create a meal plan. I'm really curious about that.
Like I said, I'm busy. And so I don't really have time to follow a recipe. Plus, I'm always missing one ingredient and it just bugs me, right? So I tend to think about, I tend to cook keto at my house. I know my kids' genes, I've done their genetics also, and I know how they react. And so I do let them have grains. Outside of the house, but inside of the house I do keep it gluten free. I have a one child, my daughter is dairy free also, so I do not cook with dairy. But I try to think, okay, what's my above ground vegetable? And so I just go to the produce section and I say, okay, here's a couple of different above ground vegetables. I've got Brussels sprouts and I've got broccoli and cauliflower, and the kids love green beans and asparagus, right? And then I go to the protein section and I have chicken and I have roast and ground beef and turkey breast, all, a number of different kinds of protein. And then I think about my healthy fats. What are my healthy fats? Um, we do organic cheese. We do, which I add later. Not to anything I cook for her. Avocados, coconut oil, and avocado oil are those, and bacon. Those tend to be kind of the healthy fats because without a gallbladder, do have to be very careful with fats. So I'm not doing kind of the high fat and the bulletproof coffee that many people do because it affects me. Um, but if I just make sure that I have my above ground vegetables, my protein, and my healthy fats, then when I get home, or usually in the morning, I'll throw one of the pro things of protein in the crock pot, and then I get home and I'm like, okay, here's my above ground vegetable. Most of the time I roast them and then I just add some kind of, I cook it in, if I'm roasting it, I'm cooking it in coconut or in avocado oil because it has a higher smoke point. And then I'm adding avocado or cheese onto whatever the dinner is. And I've covered all of my macronutrients and I'm good to go.
I love the idea of getting color on the plate. I just interviewed a woman who teaches about nutrition by focusing on color. So when you're picking your above ground vegetables, it's like, okay, where's my greens? Where's my yellows? Where's my reds? Where's my oranges? And where's my blue? Where's my purple? And seeing how many colors you can eat every week. Because in every color there's different phytonutrients that really benefit the body, and then it makes it a lot less stressful than than thinking about the individual vegetable, because then you're just
Yes.
if you focus on color, then every week you're choosing different ones. I love that. I love that idea of just, knowing you've got a certain amount of vegetables and building it from there. Um, what other amazing advice would you give the listeners who are seeking true health?
For seeking true health, I would, number one, make sure that you're getting the right food to supplement your body. And whether that, you can try the different types of diets. And I would say having someone, a health coach, help you through that can kind of speed that process along. But cutting out different foods also to see what you are sensitive to. Like I would never know that I was, that pain in my toe that I got 8 years ago that I thought was just from pregnancy was really gluten. So cutting out some of those foods and reintroducing them slowly is very helpful. I would definitely watch the carbs if you have some notice that you're having some blood sugar swings or mood swings throughout the day, waking up multiple times at night. I would really try and focus on getting those 3 to 4 cups of vegetables a day. People really struggle with even 3 to 4. Like, I'm not saying, there are a couple of people that say 7 to 10. I'm saying 3 to 4 cups of vegetables a day. Getting the water that you need. Many times, people say, oh, 64 ounces, but it's not necessarily 64 ounces. It could be what's right for your body, which can be even as much as half your body weight in ounces.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing your body, listening to your body, taking the time to connect the mind and the body. We cut that off. We're just all in our heads, listening to what's going on in our body and knowing what's causing those symptoms, and using those as clues, not as something to run to the doctor for.
How do we begin to listen to the body? How do we get it over our head and start listening to body and start connecting those dots?
For people that are completely unaware of what's going on with their body, I tend to initially put them on a Whole30 diet, and that's cutting out dairy, it's cutting out grains, it's cutting out sugar and alcohol and legumes. And so for me, it's not really, many people just do the 30 days, but for me, it's really about that next 15 days, day 31 through 45, and doing a reintroduction slowly to see how your body is reacting. So, on day 31, let's say you reintroduce legumes at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then you go back to the diet, the strict diet for day 32 and 33, and see, am I having any kind of reaction? You can also easily get a blood sugar monitor at Walmart, and monitor your own blood sugars and see, where's my blood sugar, fasting blood sugar first thing in the morning. Where's my blood sugar 2 hours after I eat? It should be, ideally 75 to 85, at least under 100 fasting in the morning, and then after 2 hours after you eat, it should be under 140 if you don't have diabetes. And so really knowing, you can even, I spoke with a doctor at a conference one time, and he was even using the blood sugar monitor to see specific foods. So he even narrowed it down a little bit more and would take his blood sugar after eating just one food, and he was able to see that mushrooms actually raise his blood sugar levels.
Mm.
And so he stays away from those, right? So you can really, um, I can run food sensitivity testing for people, but um, you can also just clean up your diet for 30 days and then do some reintroduction slowly and see what symptoms. Are you getting a rash? Are you getting zits? Are you getting joint pain? Most of the time when people cut out sugar, their joint pain disappears. But there can be other things that happen. I had a guy, we had no idea what was going on. He was fit and skinny, and his cholesterol just kept going up, up, up. And we just happened to run. He said, "Yeah, I hiccup sometimes." And I thought, okay, well, let's try a food sensitivity test. And he was off the charts for eggs.
Mm-hmm.
So high cholesterol can be a sign of inflammation in the body. And so, right now he's about to get his next test done after being off eggs for 3 months to see, was that kind of causing the inflammation in the body. So foods really affect us and our moods, and making sure that you're writing those things down is important. So using a Whole30 and figuring out, taking the time to do that next 15 days of reintroduction slowly and see how your body reacts.
I had a doctor tell me that bad cholesterol is oxidized fat. And so that it wasn't necessarily that it's unhealthy for the body, it's that it's a red flag. It's sort of like seeing smoke coming from a fire. Now obviously you're not going to start treating the smoke and let the fire run rampant, but that's what we're doing by giving people cholesterol lowering
Yes,
medication. We're just trying to manage the smoke, but there's a
great.
fire. Like, so
Cholesterol is the firefighter.
now explain that.
That's what I heard this the other day. Cholesterol's a firefighter. He's coming out to fight the fire. right? Like he's coming out, there's some kind of inflammation. What's going on? What's causing that inflammation? For me, I think it's probably either a food sensitivity or some kind of blood sugar dysregulation, right? That something is damaging your blood vessels. So cholesterol's coming in to kind of cover that up and heal it.
It's
Also,
the only
what's not
band-aid.
discussed,
Yeah, it's the only
yes,
band-aid that the body has at that time.
what's not discussed often and not looked at is that your cholesterol can actually be too low. And so that's kind of where I'm starting to get into studying that too, because what I found with some of my fertility patients is that they have low cholesterol, and that can be contributing to it. Like cholesterol is so important that your body makes 80, 85% of what it needs. Like it's important. And so in the United States in mainstream medicine right now, we believe, oh, well, it has to be under 200 and we don't care how low it is. But
Right.
I feel I feel there's a too low. And so that's what I'm kind of trying to dig into these days.
It's actually very interesting when we dive into the history of cholesterol medication and how they came up with these arbitrary numbers. There's a lot of controversy around it. And also then just grouping it all together and saying total cholesterol is such a
Not right.
it's yeah, because you want high healthy cholesterol. That is exactly those are the raw building blocks the body uses to make your sex hormones and stress hormones. That's the nutrients your body uses to repair your brain, your nervous system. To every you have 37.3 trillion cells in your body, and every single cell wall is made of fat.
Yep.
And you're so to think that if it's just imagine a brick house, how you're building a brick house, and all of a sudden the mason ran out of bricks. Well, how is he going to finish that house? And that's not how our body works, with the 16 vitamins, the 12 amino acids, the 60 trace minerals the body needs. And on and on and on, and all the different materials your body needs to constantly repair. And if we just don't have enough of those building blocks, like you said, the liver makes between 70 and 80 something percent of our daily required cholesterol. But then we have this bad cholesterol over here, right? And it's oxidized. It's a representation of the oxidative stress that is currently happening in the body. But now they say that triglyceride levels are four times higher, four times more important of an indication of heart disease than cholesterol levels. But I'd love to see everyone reduce the inflammation in their body, and and get to that point where they're feeling so healthy, and then their blood vessels are incredibly healthy, and then the body doesn't have to use cholesterol to patch up those places that
Yep.
it ends up patching up. I interviewed a few cardiologists. And it's funny, I've interviewed three cardiologists. All three of them have sort of different modalities, but all three of them, through diet and nutrition, are able to reverse heart disease. One of them being Dr. William Davis. He wrote the book Wheat Belly. He says, just like you had suggested, he says if everyone used a glucometer, if everyone walked around with a blood sugar, machine in their pocket, it's a small device that you can carry in your pocket, and tested their blood sugar an hour after every meal, and use that, like, regardless of whether you have diabetes or not, tested your blood sugar after every meal and use that as a way of educating yourself whether your body responded well to that meal or not. So if you ate a bunch of eggs and you took your blood sugar an hour later and you saw what it was, and then you ate pasta or toast or whatever you're eating, and you just look at a high fat meal, a low fat meal, a high carb meal, low carb meal, a bunch of fruit, and no fruit, no vegetables, lots of vegetables, and just see over time, it what meals that your body, or what specific foods your body is really resonating with, and what foods spike your blood sugar an hour or even 2 hours later. and you can begin to see, as you go, let's say a whole foods diet, right, or go into the Whole30 diet, that your insulin resistance goes down,
Yes.
right? And then see if you eat a certain way that your insulin resistance goes up, which is bad. We don't want insulin resistance. We don't want insulin sensitivity. Um, Meaning that blood sugar is not staying high in the bloodstream for long, because the higher blood sugar is in the bloodstream for a longer period of time is what is causing all this damage. What's really interesting, so that's one cardiologist, and he's more of a low carb, very similar to you. He's more of a low carb, paleo style, obviously no grains or very low grains, definitely not gluten. That's his program, and he's very successful. But basically, helping people to create healthy blood sugar, again, regardless of whether they're diabetic or not, helping them create healthy blood sugar and get lots of antioxidants in their diet. He's able to reverse heart disease, meaning someone has a clogged arteries, and after eating his way, no longer has clogged arteries. So very similar to what you're talking about. That's Dr. William Davis's thing. Dr. Esselstyn is like totally different. He says no fat at all, no oil at all, no salt, no sugar, and you're gonna eat and no meat. No meat at all. You're gonna eat vegetables, you're gonna have fruit, and you're gonna have whole grains. So I guess he doesn't mind gluten, but it has to be whole grain, not processed at all. And he sees people reverse heart disease, and he says that eating oil really harms the lining of all the arteries and causes inflammation and damage to the arteries anytime you eat oil. What are your thoughts on that?
I wonder if he's making a difference between, if he's clumping all oils together, or making a difference between vegetable oil, canola oil,
Yeah,
those
all
seed
oil.
oils, and
All
right.
oil. He says all
So
oil. Yeah.
avocado oil, coconut oil, olive oil are the ones that we tend to, the saturated fats, which have been vilified. Um, but I don't know that I would clump all oils together necessarily. Like, I definitely stay away from the vegetable oil, canola oil, seed oils. But having those oils and the healthy fats, like we talked about earlier, like your gallbladder needs those healthy fats. Like, how is he keeping people?
Well, this is my question. So, why not, instead of avocado oil, eat an avocado, or instead of olive oil, eat some olives? Like get it from the whole, get your fat from the whole food. Instead of walnut oil, eat walnuts. Um, but get it from the whole food, because then it comes with the other components like fiber and the minerals and the vitamins and all the other nutrients. He says in that form it doesn't harm the arteries, but when you render fat out of a plant, that then then it causes oxidative damage to the lining of the arteries.
Hmm,
Yeah, see, this is the fun thing about it's black and white. It's not black and white.
it's not black and
It's
white.
not
Nothing
black
is
and
black and
white.
white.
Nothing is black and white. But it's like I said, I've had three cardiologists on the show, three totally different styles. But and they, all three of them have been successful at reversing heart disease. Um, and so it's very interesting. And I've also interviewed some people recently that say that oil and fat can increase insulin resistance. And so, yeah, of course, eating low carb, you're managing your blood sugar, but that it's not eating low carb doesn't affect insulin resistance. What would you say to that?
I I completely reversed my insulin resistance. So I know that incorporating that, now I don't solely focus on it. I do try to, I use oils to cook with. So you couldn't really like put a scoop of avocado in your skillet to brown your ground beef, right? Like, that's what I'm
Mm.
thinking. And ironically, like, there are people out there that don't like avocados, and I see them on a daily basis, and I really look at them like, wow, you don't like avocados? So having them incorporate different foods into their diet is difficult, but I don't there's no all or nothing, definitely, and I think maybe those people attract the patients and the clients that feel that way is going to work best for them. Like
Mm.
I've read Wheat Belly, right? Because that attracted me. Actually, I didn't eat meat at all for like 10 years. And so that took some time, and I've put some vegetarians on meat, and we've worked with digestive enzymes to try and make sure that they're absorbing the foods and that those enzymes are working well. But I think that there are issues that are created in the body when you're not eating meat. And I think that you can get, B12. You're not going to get B12 from your plant foods. And then there are certain, when you try to kind of go the other way, people will, if you say, hey, you have whole grains and plants and things like that, then they're going to eat a lot of bread, and they're going to eat, like it can swing. We have to really find the happy medium. Like I tell people, don't eat eggs every day, please. Like take a break from coffee once in a while. Like you don't need to be eating the same thing every single day, because that's
Mm-hmm.
going to cause illness. That's going to cause eating eggs every day. I'm not worried about cholesterol, because your body will adjust how much cholesterol it makes if you're eating an egg. And I'd rather you eat a whole entire egg, because an egg white is going to increase your insulin level. It has a higher insulin response than a whole egg. But I'm concerned that if you have leaky gut from everything that's going on in your body, that by eating an egg every day, you could be creating a food sensitivity to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I I too use the ketogenic or low carb paleo diet to bring back my insulin sensitivity. And so I thought it was interesting that these other experts were saying that fat was the only reason why we have insulin resistance. And yet now
No.
that I've switched over. So I did that for a while. Now I'm trying the absolutely no added fat. So instead of I don't cook with oil now. I have no oil. And I mean, I ate enough fat to last a lifetime the last 2 years. So I'm like, okay, I'm okay with trying no fat. But I eat an avocado a few times a week, a handful of nuts a few times a week. Definitely like chia seeds and hemp seeds,
Hmm.
and um you can get this great big bag of hemp seeds from Costco. It's great. And flax
Those I use with
seeds.
my
Yeah,
vegetarian keto people, yes.
it's yummy. And
Mhm.
then to cook, I use some broth. I just use broth or a little bit of water, and just you add a little bit at a time to the pan, and you can saute or caramelize onions or anything. There's a way to cook with broth that is totally, you just turn the heat down just a little bit lower than you would. But yeah, I've been playing around with that, and there's a lot of no fat or no oil chefs on the internet that teach that method of cooking. But I'm playing around with it, and so far I don't feel deprived. But like I said, I think keto is something that people should try under the supervision and guidance of an expert, especially if they have specific health issues they want to resolve. It's amazing for certain kinds of cancer. It's amazing for people who have neurological issues,
Yes, I have
because
multiple sclerosis and
yes,
Parkinson's patients, yes.
yeah, absolutely. Because if you're, I had this one doctor who said that Parkinson's, MS, and ALS are all caused by the same root cause. It's just presenting in different locations of the nervous
Mhm.
system. And how to resolve it is a high healthy fat diet, a very high antioxidant diet, so high 100 ORAC or more a day of antioxidants, and getting them off of all of the chemicals and getting detoxifying their life, so there's no more chemical exposure. There's bringing their blood sugar down and bringing everything that would help to lower the amount of oxidative stress to the body, and then increasing the healthy fats and helping them digest and absorb and assimilate those healthy fats, so the body can then repair the nervous system. So I think there's, like you said, there's times in our life when we need to obviously always use food as medicine, but times in our life when these fats can heal the body, and times in our life when we need to look to whole foods, plant-based, and times when we need to, just play around, times when we want to not eat meat, times when we want to eat meat, but play around and see what is the most healing thing. And I like your advice of doing that elimination diet. Go on the Whole 30, but not, but it'll use that month to just reset. So that's like wiping the slate clean, and then you add one food back, and then you remove it and take a few days and just see, did that food mess me up in
Yep.
any way? And then you test another food, and then you take it away for a few days and see, did that food mess me up? My husband had these weird symptoms, and we for months we could not figure out what food it was, and through process of elimination and the elimination diet, we finally figured out that he reacts to cashews. Any kind of
Mm,
cashews. It can be raw, organic, roasted, salt, no salt. But anything more than a handful of cashews, and it could be cashew milk, it could be cooked cashews, like whatever. A small amount, he doesn't have a problem with. But anything more than a handful, because you buy a bag of cashews and all of a sudden you realize you ate the
you
entire
eat it
bag.
all.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, that's the problem with bags of cashews, right?
Yes.
But he's an active guy. He can down a bag of cashews. And yeah, sure enough, it was giving him weird symptoms that completely went away when we removed the cashews. And it kind of sucks because like that was his favorite snack food,
Yeah.
but he did that thing you said not to do, where he gets into a routine. He just likes to have his routine. He likes to eat the same food every day,
Yep.
right? And so I have to keep shaking him up. And so I cook in the house so that he doesn't like, because left to his own devices, he will eat like blueberries every day for every meal, or cashews and blueberries, or he'll just pick something healthy, but then he'll overdo it. And I like that you've said, make sure you get out of your routine, because even any food that we overeat, or eat too much for too long, our body can develop, and our immune system, especially if we have leaky gut, can end up unfortunately developing a sensitivity towards it. Um, so once someone has played with their diet and done that what you've suggested, what other things do you have up your sleeve that you've seen make really a big impact on people's health?
So if they're still having problems, then I tend to go towards more, blood work, and because I work in the doctor's office, I can work with the doctors to get blood work. We can do organic acids testing and food sensitivity testing to really kind of narrow that down. But it's just really taking that whole body, whole life approach. Like, I really talk to people, are you sleeping? And if you feel like, I'm not just saying like you're in bed 6 hours a night, but are you sleeping? Because personally, I have to be in bed 8 to 8.5 hours a night to get 5 hours of sleep.
Mm.
So I know that you can say you're in bed 7 hours a night, but I don't think you're asleep 7 hours a night. And that's kind of the goal we're all shooting for. And that can lead to insulin resistance. That can lead to mood issues, right? That
Mhm.
can lead to energy issues, all of those things. The genetic testing, I do lean towards very heavily also, because I find that can just give me kind of really a big clue that detoxification. One of my Parkinson's patients, like, he was all of the detoxification genes he had mutations in, and so it was very important that we really clean up his environment. um, and the food that he was eating, and get some antioxidants in there and some supplements to kind of, and including fasting and keto. He actually went to his neurologist 6 months after we started him with on keto, and the neurologist said, "I need you doing keto." They were like, "Yay!" We've been doing it with our nutritionist. So the genetics it can really give me just kind of a clue of what's your base. Now, like you said, epigenetics, or how the environment and our lifestyle and our diets kind of affect those genes. And I from my research and my learning, not all genes can be affected epigenetically. Like, I have histamine intolerance. I'm not going to make more. If I'm super clean with my diet, I'm still not going to make more histamine anyway, or degrade it any better. So there are some that aren't, you aren't epigenetically able to mess with, but I can not eat that histamine food, right? But having that base level so I can support and get you on the right supplementation or take out certain foods. I can see if you have a predisposition towards celiac or gluten intolerance, and you've got to have that genetic component plus a triggering factor in order to get celiac. So if you have that genetic component, which my husband and one of my kids does, so I really keep the house gluten free because I don't know what's going to trigger it for them, or what could in the future. So the genetics is a big key, I think, to figuring out health. If you have all of those: diet, exercise, rest, stress management, like if you've got all of that and things are still not quite working for you, then the genetics can really give me a key to seeing what's going on in the body.
Mm-hmm. The Fitbit, I thought it was so fascinating. My friend loves her Fitbit and she wears it to sleep, and it actually knows when you're sleeping
Yes.
and knows if you've had
Those when you're
disrupt.
awake.
Yeah,
Oh.
exactly. It's like Santa Claus.
Yes.
Um, and it shows you like times when you've been restless or times when you kind of woke
Yep.
up in the night, um and I thought that was really interesting because like you said, you may think you were in bed for 7 hours, we actually only got 5 hours of sleep. That makes a really big difference. Sleep hygiene is very, very important. Well,
There are genetic components to that too, and the histamine I feel is a genetic component towards sleep, right? If I have had a glass of wine, I'm not gonna sleep.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, where most people drink it to help them go to sleep, it's going to have the opposite effect on me. And that's knowing my body, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there are certain genetic mutations too that, like, GABA is supposed to be calming, but GABA in someone with these certain genetic mutations is actually going to be excitable. And so, it's knowing those little things that can be like, oh my gosh, just totally eye-opening for you.
My husband's like that. He can drink a venti coffee and go to sleep. He could down a coffee and fall asleep. I mean, we're
Rapid
coffee. Yeah,
metabolizer of
he
caffeine.
he
Yeah.
doesn't drink coffee anymore. But this is like in the last few months. But I mean, his excuse was he's from Seattle, and that's so it's like we drink coffee like it's water. But yeah, he's one of those weird, freaky people that can drink as much coffee as he wants and immediately fall asleep. Whereas if I had a venti, at noon, I'd be awake till 2 in the morning. Like it's
Yep.
just, it's just
Yep.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there are ultra rapid metabolizers of caffeine, and then there are slow metabolizers of caffeine, and most people don't need a genetics test to tell them that.
right, right. Very cool. You mentioned organic acids test. What's that?
So an organic acids test is a urine test that can tell us about some of the metabolites in the body. Gut, if you've got some leaky gut, if you've got candida, if you've got mitochondrial issues, there's just a lot of extra information that we can see. I was able to use that. My daughter was acting just really strangely for a while, and I had gone to this organic acids conference, and I got a free test, and I was like, I'm using it on her, and it showed that she had a mold infection in her gut. And so once we got that under control, her behavior really evened out. And so
Wow.
it can really just, again, one of those clues, like, you would not ever think to look there, like, I was able to help her where, this could have her she's only in kindergarten, but she wasn't paying attention and she was starting to kind of get in trouble, like, there were certain things that were starting to go on, and I was able to nip this in the bud quickly because I ran these tests.
What lab did you go with? Like Great Plains Laboratory?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
I use Great Plains for the, IgG, food sensitivity plus candida, and, the oat testing.
And do you use them also for the organic acids test?
That's oat, sorry. Organic acids
Oh,
test
I
is
got
oat
it. I'm
testing.
like,
Yeah.
you test for oats. Okay, I
Yeah,
get
no, 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 yeah, oat.
it.
Yeah. That's just what they call it because it's a
Yeah,
shorthand.
got it. I really like Great Plains Laboratory. Um Can people work with you over Skype, like around the world? How does it look to work with you?
Yes, I do phone consults. I see people in my office. I can work with just about anybody. Usually, I just have them send me an email or call and get on my schedule, and have when they call the call center to just say, "Hey, this is a phone consult," so that I know to call. I don't wait for somebody to show up in my office.
Yeah, because you're in Austin, so someone who's listening who's in or near Austin could come see you, but everyone else outside of that could go through Skype. Are you able to order labs for people who are not in Austin?
Yes, Great Plains Laboratory. I can send a test to people.
Got it. Um, Even if they're outside of the United States?
I believe so. Yes, I think Great Plains still does that. Yes.
Now you've got this great blog, Life, Love, and Time, THYME. What should we know about it? What should is there anything that we should make sure that we check out, or what would you say that when people go to your website?
The blog is years of love and just trying to again find my way. And so the blog has been around about 5 years. Currently, I'm trying to really put up some recipes and my videos. I have it. I do have a YouTube channel, and so I've tried to link that to the blog so that you can see kind of just quick tips about keto and healthy recipes. And there is a work with me button on there also that you can go to and find me.
I like your natural home. You've got crafts and you've got a whole section for kids. And then you've got the natural home section, which includes an article on straw bale gardening. And I thought that was really cool.
Yes, I've got a straw bale garden. Actually, it's a hay bale garden. I need to post. I planted my hay bales on April 1st. So it's been about 12 days, and I've already got some lima beans and bush beans and zucchini and lettuce, and everything's starting to grow because in the hay bales, they're decomposed, right? You kind of treat them ahead of time and they decompose, and then they feed the plants. And so the plants tend to be a lot healthier and grow quicker because they're growing in this decomposed matter. Plus, I don't have to weed as much. There's still, because I'm using hay bales instead of straw bales because it's Texas and they were free. Um, I have to pull some grass out sometimes, but there's just a lot of weeds here, and so it just keeps the weeds to a minimum because they're up off the ground.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever heard of Back to Eden gardening?
Back, I have heard of that.
Yeah, so this guy named Paul, I recommend going to YouTube and just searching Back to Eden gardening documentary. I happened to stumble upon it when I was researching building a garden, and he's out in Squim, which is like the peninsula in Washington State, and he bought this like 30 something years ago. He bought this property thinking he's going to create a homestead for his family, and they drill a well, and this is, acre they got acres and acres, right? And he drilled this well, and the well would only give him like half a gallon a minute, something just impossible to actually create a farm with, right? Because you
Oh,
you can't water your plants.
right.
And so he looked to nature. Prayed, and he's very spiritual, and he looked to nature, and he saw that even in really hot summer days, the plants in the forest would not wither and die from the heat and from no rain, because the forest floor, the mulch, would lock in the moisture and would keep out the
Mhm.
weeds, right? And
Mhm.
so he took several inches of ground up trees, basically, of anything from the arborists that's free. And so it's wood chips, but it's also leaves and bark, and it's the whole plant. It's not just wood chips, right? And he covered like at least an acre with these wood chips, and then he brought in some horse manure, because there's a guy down the street that happened to have lots of horse manure, just a light dusting of it, right, to bring in the nitrogen. And he planted from there. And he's been doing this ever since, and he says he has not been in a grocery store in 12 years.
Oh, that's awesome.
His entire family, and there's videos because he doesn't own a computer, he doesn't own a smartphone, but people come to him and they film it and they put it on YouTube. And in the summer for free, he gives tours of his garden, and you can eat as much food. He allows you to eat as much food as you want right from his garden, and he gives these free tours because he's just his passion in life.
Right. It's
If
so
he
fun.
and some of these videos he's hobbling, he's got a cane, and that's because he was exposed to Agent Orange. And so
Oh,
his body
no.
is he's still detoxifying from that, but he lives totally off the land.
Off the grid.
Yeah, he's got chicken, so he eats eggs, he's got apple trees, so he eats apples, he's got potatoes and sweet potatoes and cabbage and just everything you could possibly imagine, all grown. But what's really neat is there's almost no weeding because the weeds can't take root with the amount of wood chips.
Gotcha.
And
Right.
he moves the wood chips aside to get to the dirt, and then plants the seeds, and then moves the wood chips back, and that's it. And what it's really cool is this can be replicated in anyone's backyard. If you have a 5x5 space, if you have a 10x10 space, whatever if you have, it can be replicated, and you can grow more food in this way of doing it, because it nutrifies the soil. It locks in the moisture, so you don't have to water. You very seldom have to weed. Um, you don't have to fertilize. Just a light dusting of some kind of manure or some kind of nitrogen based compost once in a while. And then the wood chips break down and bring minerals into your plants, so it's remineralizing your soil. But he does this in a way. Teach basically all these free videos on YouTube. You can learn how to do it, and in any size backyard, or front yard, you can homestead and supplement your family with fresh produce, which is just so exciting.
Yep.
But I love what you're showing here, because this is sort of a similar concept to what he does. You're doing it with hay bales, so it's like brings it up, so you don't have to bend down.
Yes.
Brings it up off the ground, and so the bunnies won't eat it, which is great.
Yep.
But also the straw or the hay nutrifies the plants. So that's really cool. I just believe that, and I've seen it so many times. If you get your children, even a 2-year-old or 3-year-old, if you get your children to garden, that they will be more inclined to eat those vegetables because they were part of the process.
Yes.
And also
And that
just,
was the point of
yeah,
moving out here. Like, we moved to this land almost 2 years ago, and I was like, I want my kids to know where their food comes from.
exactly. And getting out in the garden even a half an hour a day is something that would allow you to breathe, to get into the
Yes.
sunlight, to get to
De-stress.
yeah, to de-stress. It's so healing. So just before we started this interview, guess where I was?
In the garden.
My husband and I are right now, we're building our 25 by 50 foot plot, because
Oh,
I'm
wow.
ambitious, and
Yeah.
so
I won't
so
tell you how big my plot is,
I
so
want to know, how big is it?
well, the hay bales now, I have 40 of them, but
Wow.
the garden area is actually 120 by 120, and that's the eventually it will be there. Right now I'm only using kind of a very small portion, but
I like it. That's my new goal. I'll tell my husband. He'll freak out because I negotiated from 25 by 25 to 25 by 50, and he thinks that's too much. And I'm like, just wait, because we're gonna love the produce. We're gonna want more space next year. But it's addictive. It's something that's really exciting to be able to, every time I go to the grocery store and pick out all our wonderful vegetables, I think, how cool would it be to grow this myself and to have that
yes.
experience. And there's nothing more delicious than a freshly picked anything, right? Because what you're buying in
Yes.
the grocery store is picked weeks ago, sometimes months ago. Apples can last. You could be eating last year's apples, and if you cut an apple open and within
There
a
can be
minute
yes.
they're turned brown. I mean, those are really old apples.
Up to your food can travel these days. It's between 1,500 and 2,500 miles just to get to your plate. And so eating locally is actually extremely important to get the nutrients.
Because the enzymes, sometimes
Degrade.
yeah, they grade within half an hour of picking it, and so we're really
And yeah,
missing nutrients because we've never eaten fresh food before.
exactly. Yes.
Yeah,
And they have to
so
pick it before it even ripens, and then it ripens on the truck. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. What's really neat about this guy that does this back to Eden gardening, Paul, he says that he eats an apple for breakfast and then he's not hungry. I mean, and an apple that's grown in his garden, and he's not hungry again until dinner, until supper,
Hmm.
until about 5. He's just not hungry. It's just, and it's the nutrient when you eat foods that's nutrient dense, your body's getting more nutrients from it.
What it
So
needs.
I think it's really interesting that when you eat food that's void of nutrients, like white bread, for example, we could stuff our faces full, eat 3,000 calories of white bread and still be hungry because our body is starving for vitamins and phytonutrients and minerals, and we're not getting it from processed food.
Well, and as a former carb addict and insulin resistant, if I were to eat an apple back then, within 30 minutes, I would be starving
Mhm.
because it would shoot my blood sugar up so high, and then I would have more of a reactive hypoglycemia, right? So it would drop back down, and I would need more. I need to try an apple and see how I do now. um, but I would have to pair it usually with peanut butter or cheese because that
Mhm.
protein, I would need that when I was insulin resistant and a carb burner, a sugar burner.
Yeah, and the goal is to be insulin sensitive, and so yeah, absolutely. Check out some fruit now and or some apples and see what happens. But like I said, I could not believe, I was so excited that to eat a whole fruit meal and then have my blood sugar be 88 afterwards.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was really exciting. And that's something we all want to work towards, is having that even keel wonderful blood sugar and eating whole foods to get all our nutrients from. It's been wonderful having you on the show. I think we can just chat about this forever
Yeah,
because
probably.
because like I said, it's not black and white. I think someone need, wherever they are, they need to play with their diet and see what makes them feel good, what makes them not feel good, avoid the things that make them not feel good. I think everyone should try going dairy free for a month. I think, because over 70% of the population has a intolerance to dairy, and many people don't realize that
They
one
don't.
thing alone, that
Yep.
removing that one thing could be like miraculous for them. Especially, I'm still surprised to this day how few parents know that if your child has chronic ear or sinus infections, that 95% of the time it's a dairy intolerance, and just removing all forms of dairy will cease the infections from
Eczema
reoccurring.
also.
Yeah, from eczema. Well, because the
Mhm.
skin is a reflection of your gut health.
Yes. Yeah, my daughter would, actually, my daughter is Chinese, and, many Asians, up to maybe even 95% are lactose intolerant, and so, I knew this going into the adoption, and so I watched her and I gave her, rice milk or almond milk or something, but, still it was kinda part of it, and she always had a runny nose, always, like, I would just get her healthy and she would be back down again, and she wasn't getting a ton of dairy even. But once we removed it completely, then the eczema cleared up and the nose cleared up, and
Mhm.
stomach issues, all of
Yeah.
that.
Well, even a little bit of poison is still poison. To her, right? So one person's poison
To
is
her.
another
Yeah,
person's like healthy food. And dairy is something that's, there's a certain percent of the population that dairy, they thrive on dairy, just thrive on it. But I would say more people than not have a problem with dairy. In fact, when looking at the consumers of all forms of what they call milk, right? So almond milk, coconut milk, soy milk, cow milk, right?
yes.
51% of all consumed, of all purchased milk is non-dairy. So 51%
Mm,
in America, 51% of the people that are buying milk are choosing almond or soy or hemp or flax or coconut or cashew milk over the cow milk. And
yes.
that's a really, if 51% of the population knows that they should avoid dairy, then that's, I mean, that's an indication that's the first food to try to take out, and just to see, do you feel better after 30 days with no dairy? Or try removing grains. Do you feel better after 30 days with no grains? Um, what
And
foods?
dairy, it can be, right? I have many people say it's milk and ice cream they have problem with, but not cheese. And so even hey, try dairy for one day, you may need to go even deeper and say,
Yes,
like, okay, I do milk this day, and then I see, and then I do cheese this day, and I do hard cheeses and soft. I mean, like,
right.
you got to really dig down sometimes.
Right, because some cheeses are really uh low in those, like the casein, or low in the
Mm,
lactose. My thing is that, though, cheese, even though you might not feel it, it could be causing low grade inflammation. Because if you totally
yes,
react to, like, 100% you react to dairy, then it's sort of like, again, that's that like, well, do I eat a little bit of poison or a lot of poison, and so
right,
um and now
right,
they've got all
yes.
these kind of nut cheeses. I mean, they're
Mhm.
expensive, but they're fun, or no cheese at all. I miss it once in a while, but I just try to find something else, like nutritional yeast, which tastes really cheesy. And you
Yes.
can play, like, take cashews, nutritional yeast, and some broth, and some onions and cooked onions and carrots, and blend them together, and I make a cheese sauce that is to die for. And it tastes
Mm,
just like a Velveeta kind of, but Velveeta, but without all the chemicals, right? It tastes
right.
really cheesy. Or just add nutritional yeast to whatever stir fry, and to give it that cheesy flavor, or add it to the, if you eat popcorn, add it to the popcorn, or rice if you want, like a cheesy rice. But there's ways to play with it. Now, we've talked a lot about foods to remove, to test, to see, but what foods, do you have any, like, lists of superfoods that you love to tell 100% of the people to try to eat or try to incorporate?
Usually I try with those 3 to 4 cups of vegetables, just really making sure that you're getting vegetables. I do work in a urology office, and we do tend to see people that are sensitive to oxalates, and too much kale or too much spinach can actually cause some kidney stones in people or gout. And so, again, if people that start that green smoothie every day with 3 cups of kale, they're usually in the office with a kidney stone. So moderation is always smart, but trying different things. I stopped juicing for a while because I was dealing with my insulin resistance, and now I'm kind of back to juicing this week with celery juice and lemon and cucumber, just trying to do some
Mm.
some easy greens to try to up my detoxification. Celery, I read, it can also help with sleep. It has kind of um, a calming portion to it, and detoxification. So I'm trying to find different ways that work for my body. Again, it's hard to do a sweeping thing, but to really say what works with your body.
My friend's dealing with Epstein Barr virus,
Mm,
chronic Epstein Barr, and
hmm
she implemented, like, cups and cups of celery juice a day. I do not know why. Maybe you could maybe the physiological reason, but it's really made a difference for her. What
I,
would
I think it's
several
just got some, yeah, it's got some detoxification processes, and it's probably kind of helping to clean out some of the stuff and heal her gut and heal her,
Mhm.
her immune system.
Have you ever juiced cabbage? Because cabbage is incredibly healing for the gut. My husband, we healed his lifelong constipation. He would only have a one bowel movement every 3 days, his entire adult life. And when we got him on, I made a cabbage soup, with other vegetables, but cabbage was the main part of the soup. And this was under the direction of a naturopath. And he ate it for one meal, just one. We replaced one meal a day with a big serving of this cabbage soup. After 7 days, and this was 4 years ago, 4 years ago, his constipation went away, and he is now regular 2 to 3 bowel movements a day, but like clockwork, totally regular. because the healing properties in cabbage. So have you ever tried juicing a cabbage?
I probably have. Again, I was in that fermentation and the
Oh
juicing, and
yeah.
I've been through all of those, all of those levels. I do recommend cruciferous vegetables. It can be anti-estrogenic, so I do recommend those to many of my low testosterone and fertility and prostate cancer patients. Um, and I love cabbage. I think it's great. So I eat it at least once a week, definitely. But it's got a lot, it's getting that fiber and rebuilding the gut bacteria and getting that balance back in your gut that can be off from years of antibiotics and
Mm.
sugar and gluten and stress. All of those things get out of whack. We have what, 10 times the number of gut bacteria that we have human cells.
Mhm.
So really taking care of that gut bacteria is definitely part of that whole system too.
And
And in the genetics, you can see, does your gut produce the right sugars to feed the healthy bacteria? So I can see that in genetics and say, like, you definitely need to be, like me, need to be taking probiotics daily, where someone that doesn't have any mutations, if they're not going through a stressful period and they're eating correctly, they may not need the same amount of probiotics that I need.
And so, in terms of rebuilding the gut, some people benefit from probiotics, some people don't. Would you say, and then of course, you're saying some people benefit from fermented foods, but some people don't.
Yes.
But everyone benefits from eating vegetables. It just depends on what kind of vegetable.
Yes.
So playing around with it, and that's where listening to the body comes into play and getting the variety, because like you said, if you stick with one, like stick with spinach or kale all the time, you could be not it could be causing ill effects. So
Yes.
getting that
Even
variety.
spinach. I mean, too much water is going to make you sick, right? Like,
Yeah.
being thinking about moderation and everything and variety and trying different things and not getting out of the rut. I honestly, there are patients or clients that I have to start at the beginning and be like, okay, I need you just to try one new vegetable a week. Like, they don't eat anything except lettuce, so I have to really go back to the drawing board and give them homework of one new vegetable a week. Like, hey, there's orange cauliflower and there's purple cauliflower, and like, just go to the farmer's market and check something out.
I love it. I love that advice. And nowadays you can find a farmer's market almost everywhere, especially during the summer and the fall. Um, and you're gonna see the most beautiful vegetables that you don't get to see anywhere
Yes.
else. Um, I
Shark
really
foods are, I mean, like, there's fun things.
There's a lot of fun things, and be willing to ask the farmer that you're buying it from how to cook it. Like, what does it taste like? How do you cook it? How do you eat it? Because you're gonna see vegetables that look alien, and you don't have no idea how to cook it. Um, and I just love it. It's so delicious. I have tasted things. I have cooked things and tasted things I've never had before, because you're not gonna get them in the grocery store. Um, and then finding those like regional vegetables. So for example, in
Yes.
Washington we have the Walla Walla onion, and I
Oh,
don't know if Walla Walla onions are shipped everywhere. Like, I don't know if you can get Walla Walla onions in Texas, but Walla Walla is a place in Washington state, and the Walla Walla onion is so sweet that you could bite into a raw Walla Walla onion and eat it like an apple. It is so
wow.
delicious, and it's so unbelievably delicious. And Walla Walla season is like there and gone really fast. So whenever they arrive, like the Rainier cherries, when because we're of course Rainier cherries, we're right by Mount Rainier.
Mm-hmm.
Another local, I'm sure Rainier cherries you can get everywhere, but Rainier cherries are local here, and so you can buy them when they come into season. It's like everyone gorges on Rainier cherries for 2 weeks. So when something's in season, definitely take advantage of it. But now the Walla
That's the
Walla,
time to eat it.
that's the time to eat it. Exactly. So no, so take the time, maybe Google like your region and what are the regional foods that grow there, that grow fresh in your own backyard, or grow fresh, a few miles down the road at the nearest farm, and or the nearest like organic biodynamic farm, because you may discover that your region, like potatoes or squash or like whatever the vegetables that are really in your specific region. So ours is like Walla Walla onions, apples, like you think Washington, you think apples,
Mm-hmm.
and Rainier cherries are the three big ones that they that grow really well here. But that's a lot of fun. Yeah, so great advice. Definitely going to the farmers market and also asking them um how do you cook it and trying a new.
Yes.
I love that. I've taken on that challenge. It was a new vegetable every time I went to the grocery store or went to the farmers market. So
Yes.
because like I
And
was
it's
stuck in that
fun.
rut, and so it's so much fun. And then I finally got to taste what a rutabaga tastes like, because it was like got to the point where I'm like, okay, what's new? Well, I haven't had this thing before. And you may find that really ugly looking vegetables are absolutely delicious. So
Yep.
what's your favorite? Do you have any recipes that you'd like to share off the top of your head that are like your favorite go-tos for people who are new to this?
My favorite go-to actually involves cabbage. I I have a head of cabbage that I cut up and I saute it typically in coconut oil, and then I just use whatever meat I have, ground beef or chicken or shrimp, and I put that on top with salt. I find that the Himalayan sea salt really brings out the flavor of the cabbage, and then I typically put a little bit of cheese on top of it, or for my daughter, I put red sauce for her, and it's an easy meal for us.
Nice. I'm now putting pico de gallo on everything.
You should come to Texas.
It's so delicious. I found this fermented sriracha sauce at Whole
Mm,
Foods that it does not have any sugar in it. Most of those sriracha sauces have lots of sugar, and I'm allergic to
yeah.
cane sugar, and also why, like
Oh,
why sugar. But yeah, you can, if you hunt around. I mean, of course I could probably make my own sriracha sauce, but they have this fermented sriracha sauce with no sugar in it. It's so delicious. It's amazing. I just got it. I put it on every single meal since I bought it. But pico de gallo, because
you
again,
could go.
I do not have any, unfortunately, I don't have any cheese to top anything off with. So my thing is top everything off with half an avocado and some pico de gallo.
There,
You can
yeah.
make anything delicious with those toppings.
Avocado does it. Yep, definitely. Well, and what I've discovered, I've even fed my kids 3 days in a row. I did cabbage with ground beef, I did cabbage with chicken, and cabbage with shrimp 3 days in a row, and they didn't complain at all.
I love it.
But it does take years to kind of, get them to eat their vegetables and try different ones. But
Right.
they like to eat straight from the ground too, so the garden will help with that too.
And I love purple cabbage. It's so
Mhm.
delicious. One thing I've discovered is you can cut up a purple cabbage into like squares and use it as crackers. So
Oh, okay.
don't cook it. Just cut it up cracker sized, and then make some like hummus, or whatever. You could make a guacamole. You
I
could just
love,
have pico
yes.
de gallo, and just use it as you could use it instead of in a replacement of like corn chips, right? And oh my gosh, it's so
That's fun.
delicious. Yeah, and I also use purple cabbage leaves as a bun, and
As a bun, yeah.
I'll make a veggie burger. And my go-to veggie burger recipe is one third. So there's three parts. One third cooked quinoa, raw um riced cauliflower,
Mhm.
and um garbanzo beans, cooked garbanzo
Mm,
beans, and I mush it all together, and then I add like a Tex-Mex seasoning, right? So whatever kind of burger seasoning, but mush it all together and then cook the patties, and then I put that on some purple cabbage leaves, and then add some on top. You put a little bit of guacamole, or put a little bit of avocado slices on top, and then you can put a little pico de gallo on there too, and it's to die for, and
sounds
it's
great.
so delicious, and you're getting lots of good vegetables and fiber in there. And because playing around with the no meat thing the last few months,
Right.
but you don't have to completely go vegan or vegetarian to have a few meatless meals and see how you
No.
feel. But yeah, it's fun, it's very colorful, it's really delicious. My husband always eats all of them. So, so I have to always make more because they're so delicious and filling. Um, but yeah, great advice to try different proteins with your cabbage. So you could buy a lot of one vegetable and play around with it with different proteins. Um, and doesn't have to be meat. It can be legumes, for example, or beans if someone's playing around with vegetarian options, or getting a variety of vegetables and one protein source and
Right.
mixing and matching. So you're saying
See how you like
mix
it.
and match, see how you like different things. Just make sure that your meals contain this variety.
Yes.
All great
And
advice.
roasting and sautéing and raw, I mean, like, trying different ways to cook it. Don't just boil something and say, "I don't like it."
Yeah, exactly. I don't like it for an answer in my household. I keep playing around with it until everyone's happy. Because I like if did you watch that show with Jamie Oliver where he it was 2 seasons where he came to the States and tried to get kids to eat vegetables?
Okay, no.
It's so there's this one scene where he's chasing children. He's dressed as a carrot and he's chasing children. He's saying, "Eat your vegetables." And so every day his voice is in my head for like the last 5 years because
Your
it's like me in
vegetables.
the household. Eat your vegetables. So I have to like different ways of making vegetables in my house. But
That's
that's I
funny.
got Jamie Oliver's voice in my head. Eat your vegetables, and the children are screaming, running from the giant, yelling carrot. Um, it's been so much fun talking to you today, Sarah.
You too.
Is there anything that you'd like to say, to any message you'd like to leave the listeners to wrap up today's show?
I just really like them to not take one person's advice as the one thing for them. And if somebody says, "Hey, start this medication," go home and research it. Or if, like, talk to your doctor a little bit more, spend that time, and really figure out what's right for you, and try different foods and see if there's something that's affecting your body before you try a proton pump inhibitor or something, like, really try to find natural ways to solve any of those symptoms, and talk with a health coach. You can usually get into a health coach, and they're more and more popping up these days to really help people find their direction, because there's so
Mm-hmm.
much information and misinformation about health, and there's no one way that works for everyone, as we just said. So really kind of talking with someone that's been there and that has the knowledge that can help, kind of, just, I see my job as just pushing people in the right direction, right? Like, I'm going to just give you a little nudge and you go and run that way, and if you have a problem, come back and we'll nudge it a different way. But like, my job isn't to solve your problem, my job is to help you solve your own health problems.
I love it. That's great advice, Sarah. Thanks for so much for coming on the show. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Do you feel like you're missing something? Are you searching for the right answers to solve your health issues? Do you feel like you should have more energy and mental clarity? With everything you're doing for your health, you may be missing one key component. Our body needs 90 essential nutrients every day to function optimally: 60 minerals, 12 amino acids, 2 fatty acids, and 16 vitamins each and every day. Because of the farming practices over the last 100 years, most of our food has 60% fewer vitamins and minerals compared to just 50 years ago. So if you aren't eating 8 cups of a variety of fruits and vegetables each day, you may be missing some of your essential nutrients. These are the raw building blocks the body needs to create new healthy tissue, healthy hormones, balanced digestive system, strong muscles, bones and joints, and maintain an optimal functioning nervous system. Especially if you're experiencing more stress, or if you've gone through an illness like an infection, that takes more resources. So if you're not consuming more vitamin C and more of all the 16 vitamins and all the 60 minerals when you're going through more stress, either physical stress, emotional stress, mental stress, those stressors take more nutrients to kind of survive those bumps in the road in life. And over time, that whittles away, that kind of depletes our nutrient tanks, our stores in our body. Without these 90 essential nutrients, things start to break down. Now, you've experienced these breakdowns. Maybe you get migraines. Maybe you're exhausted. Maybe your hormones are out of balance, your digestion's out of balance, or you have some aches and pains. Maybe you've even been diagnosed with something. You have a series of symptoms, and if those symptoms all look like something, then we can diagnose it, right? That's what MDs can do. MDs will treat these breakdowns with drugs and mask your symptoms. But if your body has a nutrient deficiency, no amount of drugs will fix the problem. 7 years ago, I embarked on a journey to cure my diabetes, infertility, PCOS, high blood pressure, and chronic adrenal fatigue. I felt like I was a mess. Through my research, I found a company that made natural supplements to address these nutrient needs. They formulated their supplements to exceed all standards of quality. Their minerals are the most bioavailable and absorbed by the body that I have ever found. After getting on their protocols for healthy hormones and blood sugar, along with their dietary recommendations for better health, I reversed my type 2 diabetes, I reversed my infertility, I no longer had high blood pressure, my energy and vitality came back, and after 6 years of trying to get pregnant with my husband before we found these supplements, once we got on these supplements, we were able to conceive our wonderful healthy son, who's now 3 years old, and he is amazing, and we would have never had that had we not found this company. Speaking of our son, he's also taking these supplements for optimal health. His pediatrician thinks they're amazing. If you'd like to give these supplements a try and see for yourself if you're experiencing a nutrient deficiency, please go to takeyoursupplements.com. That's takeyoursupplements.com. Their health coaches are phenomenal. I personally know all of them. They're amazing people. And I just want you to know, as my listener, I feel like I need to protect my listeners. I would never promote anything that I didn't 100% believe in and I didn't feel was healthy or good for you. I feel like you're my tribe, and I'm sharing this information. In fact, for the last 2 years, the only reason why I've been doing this podcast is so that I can help as many people as possible gain their health back. And so the health coaches at takeyoursupplements.com, I really trust that they will make sure that you're well taken care of. They will work with you to help determine the best protocol for your nutrient needs and work within your budget. They will also help to implement a holistic protocol that includes supporting a healthy diet and lifestyle. Go to takeyoursupplements.com, fill out the form, and one of their health coaches will get back to you really shortly. And then you guys can schedule a time to talk on the phone, and they will work with you to help you dial in all your nutrient needs. I really look forward to hearing about your experience with them. Please feel free to reach out to me. You can reach out to me in our Facebook group. Go to Facebook, search Learn True Health, and join our group. Let me know what you think about the wonderful health coaches at takeyoursupplements.com. And by the way, when you go to takeyoursupplements.com and you get assigned to a health coach, they're your health coach. You're not going to keep getting a different person every time. You get one person, and they work with you and they hold your hand for months down the road. They're there for you to support you month after month while you're on your nutrient protocol, and they're helping you dial in your nutrient needs. They're really wonderful like that. So I know you'll enjoy your experience with them, and I'd love to hear about your experience with them. Please feel free to, you can email me as well, ashley@learntruehealth.com. I love hearing success stories. Like I said, I've been working with a supplement company for my own health for the last 7 years, and I've reversed so many issues. I love sharing this information because I think that many of you will be able to resolve your issues with nutrition, just like I've seen many people do. With that said, go to takeyoursupplements.com, fill out your information, and a health coach is very excited to start working with you and helping you get your health back.